Them is my new indie game project that I'll be working on. It's an atmospheric horror game based on my experience with anxiety after my recent head injury. I was in a lot of pain and took some advice from a relative which I knew was going to be bad, but it was an easy way for me to get out of the responsibility of getting better. It got so bad at one point that I became extremely afraid of the dark. So this game will basically be me trying to replicate that experience and give you one night of that. And you have the option of staying in bed and being safe and blaming all of your issues on them, as in the people who are looking after you and helping you and doing everything for you. Or you have like the option of facing your fears, going out into the rest of the house, doing stuff yourself. So my first step was trying to recreate my room. It's not necessary, but I thought it'd be the perfect place to start because that was the heart of it. And I really just thought it'd be fun to try and help me get the ball rolling, which I've pretty much done. This is my first time doing anything in UE4 in like 9 months because of my head injury, so I've forgotten a lot and thought this was ambitious enough to help me relearn the engine and learn some new stuff and just have some fun with an idea I thought was pretty cool. So at this point I'd bought a character customization thing and tried to make myself, which was fun until I tried to move it into my main projects folder. So I ended up just having to make that character customization thing the main game and then moving all the other assets across to that. I've made a base for the room and obviously the landscape as well, you know, in terms of the neighborhood, so you can see outside the window and it feels real. So once I got the base for the room sorted, I got to work on making the character playable. I got all the inputs down and everything, but assigning animations to a character that isn't the UE4 doll is a lot harder than I thought, and doing it for this one in particular was really hard. I kept breaking the character and having to restart, and then I started making my room, and for some reason I only decided to record once I'd pretty much completed it and was working on the skirting boards, although I am really proud of that bit. I made a window which was pretty fun and had a crappy bed to start off and changed the colours of the sheets because they were really like old looking and like Boy in the Striped Pajamas-esque. I don't know, it just reminded me of that movie. Apparently all beds made by 3D designers are either emperor size like luxury beds or prison beds. So I settled on the closest I could get to a normal bed. The next thing I tried to do was make fabric like physically cloth so it's like movable and all that, like a flag. I failed, but I wasn't really trying too hard because it was completely unnecessary. I was just doing it for the fun of it. So I decided to learn that a bit later and just put some on top of the wardrobe because I just wanted to add a bit of clutter. The books on the bookshelf are pretty cool because they change colour when you move their location and rotation, so that adds a bit of variety on top. I then attempted to make a light that could be turned off by a switch, but it only worked when actually clicking on the light instead of the switch. That's one of the first things I'll be working on next week. I don't really know what level of detail you guys want me to go into, so let me know for my future devlogs. Do you want to learn about the UE4 things or just the general stuff? Then I worked on a door which made me feel really cool. First I used a complete door mesh which obviously wouldn't open, but then I remembered the course I used to learn UE4 had a door that separated from the frame, but here's the issue with that. The pivot point was in the center of the door, so as you can see it didn't open like it should have. Even when I tried to change the axis by using a blueprint or making it go around another object. So I opened up 3ds Max and learned that I could actually change the pivot point and re-import it, and that was really cool because I don't do 3D design. I use a blueprint interface function called looking at, which was pretty awesome. So instead of having to reference each thing the character looked at that you want to interact with, you can just use that function in both of them. Then I'd make a little outside roof and relearn the displacement function for materials so it would look like actual real tiles instead of one flat material on top of a straight wall. Next I wanted to add a computer for my desk because it's there in real life, but I couldn't find one that was decent, so I got a laptop. But I didn't want it open because it might hint to the player that it's usable, and that's not the point. So I went into 3ds Max to rotate the top closed. That was pretty cool. And I remembered about LODs, and LODs are basically the less something's taking up of screen space, the lower the resolution of it, so they lower the amount of triangles and stuff so that it's less heavy on performance. That's important because you can save a lot, obviously. And the bottom of the laptop was like 80,000 triangles, so reducing that, especially when it's closed and you can't see any of it really. And also I completely forgot about the paintings on the walls, and the borders were actually decals that I'd made. I haven't made decals before, so that was fun, and I didn't know how to actually implement them, which was cool learning, because they like smudge and all sorts across like side walls, so I had to make them super thin and like plaster them onto the current walls. It was quite cool. My plans for the next update are the rest of the upstairs and the stairs down. Although I'm not going to be making the other bedrooms, that's really not the point. It's about the person having to go and do some simple stuff for themselves. I'm going to be trying to add in bits to make the current bit scary. You know, I try stuff out. It's important to test stuff out at every stage, and add in like some papers for exposition. The main character will eventually have a decent amount to say, as it's based on his state of mind, and his reactions to the situations and what's going on are how the player measures what's going on. So he'll be pretty unlikable in what he says, especially at the start. So I think it's necessary to help you understand what he's going through and at least why he's like that. I'm not sure how long it'll take for the next one to come out, because I have a lot going on and this is a side project. I've also got a lot of research to do on the development side and also the design of an atmospheric horror game, and my health isn't great. So if you'd like to get updates of when I'm doing stuff and the access to playable versions early, or just want to support me, check out my Patreon, and yeah, that's all I have. Thanks for watching. Make sure you stick around if you'd like to, and yeah, see ya.